Hello, I'm Terry David Mulligan, and welcome to the TDM YouTube channel. We have some friends returning to the microphone and the camera this week. It's the Northern Pikes, or as they were once called on a handwritten notice in the San Francisco gig they were playing, the Northern Pikes. Jay Semko, Brian Potvin, two of the original members of the Northern Pikes, Kevin Kane, who is still a member of the Grapes of Wrath, joined them in 2017, I think it was, and became that great voice, just bringing songs and texture and guitar work and harmonies and lead vocals. They were going to do a 30th anniversary of their album Snow in June. And then COVID came along and everything got screwed up, as you well know. They decided to slowly, quietly put reworkings of some of their hits together acoustically, and then added 3 new songs along the way. And the album has just come out now, and it's called it's called Time to Time, and it's really good. It's great work, and we're going to just let the boys have at it on screen. Hello to Don Schmidt, the drummer from, of course, the Northern Pikes. Don, I just, by way of explanation, why you're not on the screen with me, I know these guys. I've known these guys a long time, and I just felt comfortable just having the 3 of them there. But I don't diminish your role in Northern Pikes by any stretch of the imagination. Give the drummers some. Here's a conversation with the Northern Pikes and their new album, Time to Time. My name is Terry David Mulligan, and this is a Mulligan Stew, CKUA Radio and the Mulligan Stew podcast, and the TDM YouTube channel. Those are the new things. All right, I have to do a roll call here. Jay Semko, are you here?
I'm here.
Brian Potvin, here?
Here.
Oh, yeah, okay, fine. Kevin Kane?
Yeah. Present.
Thank you. Don Schmidt, I apologize for not squeezing him into this shot. I will make it up to Don Schmidt because he's also part of this wonderful group, Northern Pikes. And there's a new album called Time to Time. And it's fantastic. I've been living with it for a while now.
I'm here.
Nice, man. Nice. That's beautiful. That's a real record.
Oh, it gets better.
Oh, man. Oh, look at that. What is the actual color of that? Does it
have a name? it's kind of a bluey green
vinyl.
Gold
vinyl. Who predicted that vinyl would make a comeback?
Not me.
No, I thought it was done like dinner. Done.
CDs are next then, huh?
8 tracks.
Sound good.
All right, boys. First of all, congratulations on this music and for survival. For surviving. I want to share the music with folks on the podcast and here on Mulligan Stew. Because I've been having a conversation with Jay, I'm going to ask you to start the story about, I think it was 2017 when you were making plans for a 30th anniversary album release. Is that what happened?
Well, in 2017, we did a tour. It was the 30th anniversary of our Big Blue Sky album. In 2019, we started prepping to do this record. We wanted to do something that was kind of different, and wanted to basically revisit a bunch of the songs from Snow in June for the 30th anniversary, which would have been 2020. So we began in the autumn of 2019 out in Nova Scotia with John D.S. Adams and in Mahone Bay. And we did our first batch, our first session of stuff. And then COVID showed up. And so there was a bit of a delay. So it really, as opposed to being a 30th anniversary, I guess, release in 2020, it's a 30th anniversary plus. And then we decided, well, we don't really, there's no rule that says it has to be a 30th anniversary thing. We're just going to make kind of a cool record with some different versions of our songs, and then the choice was made partway through, like, do we do some new songs or just keep it all kind of, revisiting Snow and June songs, and we thought, yeah, let's do some new stuff. So we threw in the 3 new songs. Not that we threw them in. They were a lot of work, like everything else that takes a little bit of work to record things.
Yeah.
But it was ultimately a bit of a meandering journey, but it feels so good. And when I'm seeing that vinyl and Kevin's holding that in his hands, to me, that feels absolutely fantastic, and I have a little vinyl here.
It is
Little
fantastic
CD.
because what I'm saying is that you guys have survived life, the business, which as you know can eat its young, and I'm talking to you. There's Kevin. I'm actually talking to Kevin. I thought I would never get a chance to talk to Kevin again unless there was some music coming my way that I could make a fuss about. Or I would see him on stage and just wave. That's it. Kevin, I'm thrilled to be actually talking to you again.
Oh, Terry, the thrill is mine.
Can you remember, I'm sure you can, what caused you to join these guys in their band?
Well, several years earlier, I guess 2013, Brian and I were both living in Toronto at the time, and we ran into each other at a guitar store. And we started talking, and we realized that we were living just a few blocks from each other. And Brian had a solo record about to come out, and he suggested, well, maybe we should pair up and do some shows together. So we got together and hung out, and we just started jamming. And then he'd play me one of his songs, and I'd start playing along. And then I'd play one of my songs. He started playing along. We went, well, this is kind of a thing. So we started playing shows together as Kane Pot Van, and essentially, traded off playing on each other's songs. And then we did a record together called Cane and Pot Van. It came out in 2016, I think. And
We
that's
we
where that
we,
came.
we chatted with Terry about that record.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were at the radio station.
Yep.
Sorry, old news
You
then.
came through Roundhouse Radio. And you guys had been doing a duo. In the meantime, had Grapes completely disbanded? What happened to Grapes?
No, we've been playing shows every year since 2010.
Okay.
Every year we play a handful of shows in the summertime, usually. I've done, I think, a couple of New Year's shows, and yeah, we've got a few shows coming up this summer.
You know what the best thing about this is that your music lives, is that people do remember. Their kids get their hands on vinyl and steal it from their parents, or they take with their CDs or whatever. They discover you. Although I got to tell you, I see you guys are playing. You're going to be doing a halftime show with the Riders and Eskimos, July the 5. And at the bottom of the press release, it says, older Rider fans will be happy to see the guys off stage, while younger fans get shorter lineups at the concessions. It implied that there's no freaking way that a young audience would want to hear this music. And I challenge that right off the front here. This is fantastic.
Thank you. That's very kind. Thanks.
It's good,
Thank
guys. It's really, really good. And it gave me such joy to hear the music being reimagined and your voices and your faces. Oh, by the way, I meant to ask, I know that Kevin, I always focused in on Kevin's vocals, great voice and harmonies. What did his guitar bring to the mix? That second guitar in there.
Well, Merle played guitar too, but I would say that Kevin is he has a bigger toolbox, let's say, and for me in the band, it's been a little less pressure to kind of, I don't know, think in terms of solos and sub melodies and things like that, and because there's this fantastic technician on the other side of the stage now, and that's really exciting. Merle was never a guitar geek. He played guitar. He was a great singer, great songwriter, but Kevin's kind of a guitar geek, and so am I, and that's fun. So,
Okay, all right. Yeah, I see your guitars behind you, Kevin. I don't see any guitars anywhere in your shot. Nowhere. Look at that.
But
Look at the guitarist.
over there.
I guess we could talk about what happened around all of us musically in the times since we last talked, and that is the rise of Americana and roots and folk and classifications of folk. Rock and roll started to fade. Pop music was just a whole other obsession I can't even understand. But roots and Americana, did that play into this as well, Jay? That you felt that these songs, because they were written on acoustic guitar, would sound fine?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's generally how a lot of the songs began, is just, on an acoustic or on a solo acoustic guitar, or sometimes other instruments. But, I went down, I've been down, I've done a bunch of solo records, and they're definitely more stripped down, kind of folkish, rootsy or whatever. I've been down to the Americana Music Week a couple times before it actually became that popular in Nashville, and it was really quite fun. And at the time, I was realizing from what people were saying that form of that format was the fastest kind of growing musical format in North America. And you can see it, and nobody really knew what that was. And having been at the Folk Alliance conference a few times too, you sort of go, well, this is such a broad spectrum of music. But I can't say that really played into our plans for the record. We wanted to try something where we could just revisit these songs in a cool way as with typical Northern Pikes fashion. I mean, we start off to make an album that we're going to sit around the campfire, but it always expands. And when you have 4 creative people in the studio, and it was so much fun to work with Kevin on this particular album, and on Forest of Love as well. But just the fact that just there's like a different energy that kind of happens when somebody new is in there. And Kevin can do he can do some of these things that, perhaps we weren't able to do before. Brian was really carrying, what he was mentioning before, is he was carrying a lot of the meat in the guitar playing. And all of a sudden you can distribute this, and Kevin can play a little bit of dobro, and he can play a little bit piano, can do a little more slide, we can do a little more thing. It sort of spreads it all out. And I found that once we started working on the record, and it really becomes all for one for all, it just makes something really, really interesting and good. And it was fun.
But Jay, as you well know, as you guys all know, at that point, bands break up. That's the moment where either you work together as a team, or you go your separate ways. We've told those stories before, or watched those bands implode. I'm just thrilled and delighted that you're all talking and you're playing, and you've got this music and 3 new songs. By the way, if you're a fan of Snow in June, way to go. There's no Shadow of a Doubt, no Shotgun Morning, no Isn't It Lovely, no Unimportant, no Am I in Your Way, but there is, oh my goodness, there is Kiss Me You Fool. She ain't pretty, she just looks that way. Greenfields, love Greenfields. Kiss Me You Fool, Love These Hands, Dream Away, Girl with a Problem, and the title track. Well done on the title track. And 3 new songs. Kevin, did you write that last song in the album?
Yes. Wasn't through the running order. Yes.
You have the record right in front of you there. Check it.
Well, that's why I thought to have it here in case I needed to reference. But yeah, that's an old tune that I'd had, and these guys were kind enough to help work it up for the album. And yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'm happy with how everything on the record turned out.
How old was that song?
Oh, 13, 14 years old, something like that.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
And it found its light of day. You just said this is your time? Step forward.
I guess so.
It's just sitting in a shoebox somewhere, right?
That's right.
And Brian and Jay, did you guys write those other 2 tracks? I'm just I want to talk about the new music as well.
First of all, I didn't realize that song was 13 or 14 years old. I thought it was maybe
it was fresh.
Fresh.
It was new to me. It's just like my car. It's new to me.
Exactly.
the song, I guess the song that I contributed as a new song, Only a Lover's Dream, was well, it was interesting because we were in the heavy duty part of COVID, and nothing was really going on. And then so I said, well, why don't I try and start on something here? And I went into a studio in Saskatoon with a friend of mine, his recording engineer, Randy Woods, and we just I just started noodling away. And it was, what was kind of interesting for me with that particular song was, by then we had kind of worked on we had gotten a good start, at least, on the redos of the songs from Snow in June. And so I was able to kind of take a look at the album and go, okay, what would be kind of a cool thing? What would be something that would fit differently here? And my thought was, try and write something on the bass. And I hadn't written something on the bass in a long time. And I just sort of set down a groove, and I had some poems sitting around. There were kind of basically two poems that were kind of and I guess I was trying to think in terms of the poetry, a bit mystical, a bit Led Zeppelin, Led Zeppelinish, Off in the Hills, Lord of the Rings vibe or something there, and then trying to put it together with a chorus that was singable. And it was just one of those things where, it was great to have a perspective and see the whole picture in advance, because you don't get that very often. Usually in the midst of writing an album, you're just kind of, or working on an album, you're just doing your songs. You're not able to sort of see what you've already done. And that was kind of an advantage of having worked on this stuff, a bunch of the music already, a bunch of the materials. So when it came down to it, I just sort of put it together. I put my tracks down. I sent it off to the guys in Nova Scotia, and they added to it some very, very cool stuff. And it just, it became kind of what it is. And it was one of those ones that really had a lot of room in the mix too. And I think John Adams really did a really cool thing in, semi-producing from afar that particular song, because he didn't really know what to do with it, or what to do with it. And he just went on his instincts with it. And he did some really cool things that I would have never personally thought of. And along with Brian and Kevin, I mean, that's the great thing about being in a band and working in a band. And, I trust these other three guys implicitly with music that I have. And, obviously, yeah, you're going to have discussions about creative ideas and creative possibilities, but at the same time, I'm really open to the fact of, and I totally respect their musicality and their creativity. And, obviously I've worked with Brian and Don since we were basically teenagers. And Kevin, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Grapes of Wrath, and I've gotten to know him and some of his musicality, and still learning that as time goes by. But it really becomes, I just love that. I love when something goes to the band and it develops a personality. And we started that facet a lot more on the previous record, on Forest of Love. And there was really a lot of, and I can remember specific cases where Brian would say, I don't hear it like this, I hear it like this. And I'm going, okay, well, let's see. So it's a matter of keeping an open mind. And I really feel like that has, at least for me, as a person trying to create music, it's really served me well on this record. And just I absolutely love when when Brian or Kevin or Donnie comes up with an idea and it's like, oh, well, this is cool. I would have never thought of that. That's what bands are. It's cool.
Jay, we only have an hour, my friend.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm blabbing on and on. I'm all excited. The record's just coming out.
Brian, thanks, Jay. Brian, things you saw in me. Stopped me. I played it back 2 or 3 times just to get the sense of it. And I think you had written it in memory of your father. I'm sorry about that loss. And Jay, the same thing with your father. It just goes with the time we're living in and the age that we are. Did you get said what you wanted to say in that song, Brian?
No, probably not. But it's a start. It's a song that, excuse me, chordally and melodically, I've rewritten that song like 2 or 3 times with different lyrics. It existed 20 years ago. I called something else I don't remember, and it just sat there. And I probably didn't like the lyric, and then I think I rewrote it again, and I still didn't really like it. And then and then it was time to produce something, for this record, and I found it in a shoebox or something, and I was like, oh, and I was like, I really like this melody. I like the way the chorus hits, but I don't like the lyrics, and I had some fresh fodder to work with.
Okay.
Fodder from my fodder.
There you go.
Yeah.
And Father's Day is coming up, so to the both of you. There you go. Kevin, how long have you been in the Maritimes?
Since October of 2021.
2021. And how much, as you know, the rooms seem to be filled with music, whether you're walking down the street or driving down the street or whatever. There's music everywhere. Everybody's making music. Has it informed how you play, how you write your music? Did it show itself, for example, in Greenfields?
I don't know really, because we live kind of remotely, so there's no pub in our town, or no music. Or occasionally our postmaster will be playing piano when you go into the post office, but it's actually really quiet out here. We hear chainsaws and ATVs sometimes, and birds all the time. So if anything, it's kind of been a lack of music that sort of informed things. It's been the sound of nature has really affected me more than anything.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. By the way, if you're wondering about Snow in June and what they covered, there's Girl with a Problem, Greenfields. Snow in June is fantastic. Kiss Me, You Fool. And of course, the hit, She Ain't Pretty. Who's on piano?
Glenn Pacha. Glenn is Bonnie Raitt's keyboard player, and he lives in Mahone Bay, Nova Scotia.
Lives walking distance
down the road. So
Yeah.
he swung by and did some playing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And the thing about that is, like, for example, when you're playing that Ryder Stadium, an acoustic song might not work for that. Your stadiums and halftime shows are supposed to be big and dynamic and well over the top. Will you amp up for that halftime show?
Oh,
Attaboy.
yeah.
Well done.
Yes, Dawn will be there to bang away. So
I'll bring this with me.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Okay. I just wanted to know, but I mean, I love these songs. I've lived with these songs a long time, and I love them a lot. Love you guys too.
Thanks, Terry.
Just to me, it's a freaking victory that we're doing this conversation, having this conversation, and celebrating your music. Not only music from the 90s, Snow in June, but 3 new tunes and a tour of some kind. I saw dates for October, but no just proposed dates in October. Is there a talk about a tour with you guys?
always,
No one's
Yeah, good question.
It was on a press release. Sorry.
Yeah.
And it hinted that, well, big hint that October was a possibility, but we'll see. I just want to encourage you guys to keep going, because this is fantastic. Kevin, how about a double tour with the Grapes and the Pikes?
Ooh.
Wow,
Two
we did do one festival show where Pikes and Grapes were both on the festival. So yeah, I did a set with Grapes. Then I think there was a band between us on another stage, and then went up there with Pikes. But yeah, that sounds like a lot of heavy lifting, and that sounds like too much Kevin for anybody to have to endure.
There's never enough Kevin. Never enough Kevin.
Park cars and collect tickets at the door.
Terry, last fall we did a big cluster of dates with The Pursuit of Happiness as a double bill, the Pikes and TPOH. That was so much fun, and I hope we get to do more of that soon.
This is a great idea, guys. Is there another album you'd consider doing? Oh, let me see that again. Let me see.
This is the tour shirt. I just happened to be wearing it today. I didn't realize.
Thank you.
Before I sat down.
Thank you. Is there another album that you would consider doing the same treatment? Okay, fine. I can check.
Good question. I never thought of that. I've never thought of that, actually. But
Just a thought. let's play Dream Away. Okay, I love Dream Away because I know that the Kane and Potvin shows have been doing that song. So who's on lead? Who's lead?
Singing?
Yep. There you go. There you go. And how did you change it? What did you want to change about it?
Well, I kind of played it. We play it the way it was written, actually.
All right.
Yeah, it was, it was written on an acoustic guitar, sort of in that fashion, and then converted into a rock song because that's what we were doing then, and it worked in that format as well too. But it makes to my ear, it makes better sense played the way it's played on this record.
Okay.
Fits the lyric better, certainly.
And Jay, let me ask you about She Ain't Pretty. The basic form of the song is there. It's a great rock and roll song, which Kevin can attest. It's a great rock and roll song. I love that song. I love the breaks in it. I love the fact that the line that fills the break is strong and carries it on, has its own beat and meter. But you sort of took out the electric, so to speak, and brought in, but it still rocks. You can rock with brushes and acoustic guitar.
Yeah, well, that song maintained. I mean, of all the songs, I think that one maintained the closest to the original arrangement, and the flavor. We talked about that. Like, what do we do? What do we do with this song? Some songs you could really take a good look at, and they really could change. Like "Dream Away" is a good example. What you were mentioning before with "She Ain't Pretty," it just seemed like, well, this is kind of what it is, and it was sort of one of those. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The arrangement works so well originally, and Glenn on the keyboards did a beautiful job as well there. And it's a little, there's a little more. It's a little a little sleazier maybe, for lack of another term, or a little bit slinkier maybe, or a little bit rougher around the edges, which in some ways reminds me of the original demo that we did with "She Ain't Pretty," which featured a slide guitar a lot more prominently. We didn't have a piano on the original demo that we did, and so it sort of harkens back to that to a certain extent. But that song is so much fun to play live, and as Brian was saying, when we plug in and let her rip, and when you can hear thousands of people singing a chorus and you just let them go, it feels pretty good.
And doing the hand claps.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay, you guys. So here's the deal. I'm running out of time. I just want to ask you. I'll go around the circle. The state of the music business these days, in 30 seconds or less. What do you think of it currently, Kevin? Yes, Kevin. The state of the music business these days.
I'm the wrong person to ask. I don't know. The most exciting thing about the music business now is the fact that people can record albums and put them out themselves. Before it was such a pipe dream for all of us growing up, and the amount of work you'd have to do just to go into a crappy studio and then press the record yourself. So I think it's the immediacy of music now is what's super exciting.
Cool, Brian.
Well, maybe in 20 or 30 years, going on tour will mean just staying home. I don't know what AI's got in store for us with regards to live performance, but it's going to be interesting. We already know where it's going with songwriting and recording.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, let's put it this way. I feel very lucky to have lived when I did. I think we hit the sweet spot. We had a really great time, and selling records meant something. You mentioned to a 14-year-old, about platinum records, and they're like, what on earth are you talking about? But that was an exciting thing in our life, was having a platinum record or two. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to call this decade. I don't, in the 50s, you can name some songs and identify the 50s and the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Begin to 2000s, it gets murky. Now I have no, like when someone says, what were the 2020s like? No idea.
Okay, all right.
No clue.
And I'm in the middle of it. I'm still trying to find my music for every Saturday for 2 hours. Jay, what do you think?
I just love the fact that it's continually evolving and things are constantly changing, and I do agree with Brian in terms of that we were very fortunate to be starting off when we were, and to go through that particular era. And that's what's kind of fascinating to see it right now, is like what's what's going on with it. I mean, the reality is there's still going to be people who want to write songs and play them and sing them. And I don't think that's ever going to change. And it's been going on for an awful long time. And I think it's just going to continue. But, there's a lot of things the technology continues,
I will, if I can find you on the stage close to me, I will be the first one standing up there at sound checks, just saying hello and pounding on the stage. I just want to say one of my favorite moments is living in San Francisco, 80 to 84. You guys played North Beach, and it was a club, and there was a window where whoever was going to take the tickets was sitting in. Somebody had handwritten a sign, appearing tonight, the Northern Pikes. And I thought, yes, I found my band and my place, the Northern Pikes. And I came in and said hello, and we chatted for a bit, and then you guys moved on. You went on down the road. Thank you for this. Kevin, please hold up that incredible product. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'd like one signed, actually.
Oh yeah, there's going to be cool shirts and hats and all sorts of stuff as well.
Bring this to Alberta. We're going to sell some tickets, okay?
We'll arrange this.
Thank you, boys. Thank you.
Thanks to EM.
Great.